they have some traumatic experiences they want to talk about, and they don't really have a safe space to kind of talk about it. And I feel like my podcast can bring that out in people. They can talk about some things that they haven't shared with any of their friends.
Today we're speaking with Anna Yoo. She is the founder, host of It Starts With You podcast. Anna, could you please introduce yourself? Let people know just a little more about you, please.
So, I am a former educator, and I decided to start a podcast on wellness for dating culture because I've kind of seen that there has been an issue when it comes to dating in LA. A lot of people that I've known or do know currently are struggling in that area, and they kind of confront me and say they have um, been having struggles in that area as well, and they just can't find a solution. And one thing that I did kind of think of was there are like a lot of groups and therapy sessions when it comes to mental health and Alcoholics Anonymous and things like that, but there just isn't any groups when it comes to relationships or dating culture in general, where people can discuss things like this. And even in friends groups, like there are cases where like friends can kind of like go against each other. So like creating just a safe space in general, I felt was kind of like a starting point. So that's the reason why I created It Starts With You.
Awesome. I like that a lot. So let's define first off to you, what is a date? Because there's a lot of confusion sometimes as to what a date actually is. Could you address that for us, please?
Um, I think that like a date can be some time where like two people can connect on an emotional level. And there has to be like some sort of communication. Like, and I think that at least for me personally, if there's no communication in regards to like any emotional intelligence, or like how one person can like connect in that, like in their emotional state, like how, like what gets them going, then like it's not necessarily a date, because like um how can one person like cater to the other person's needs when they don't know how to, um and like they haven't really gotten to know each other to that level. So yeah.
So it's a courtship, if you will, to see if you're basically fit together, if you're a match or not. So that
Yeah.
that really is an emotional time sometimes, because we never want to offend somebody that we are trying to hook up with per se. So there's always this hesitancy, if you will, when somebody wants to actually be open and vulnerable, especially on a male end of things. You know, we kind of bottle things up. But I found after 40 years of marriage and 42 years together with my wife, communication is very key, and being receptive of what we do not agree with and trying to
Mhm.
figure out the why behind that disharm disharmonious thing going on in our relationship. So really it's about good communication skills, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's really the key, and that's a really great point, actually. Because like with me and my partner, we've talked about this a lot too, with communication. Um, like because in the beginning we've had some arguments and disagreements, but we have made the time to sit down and talk about that, like why we've been having those arguments and disagreements. And I think that because we've had those discussions and because we were willing to just like go through all of those point by point, um, that was what really made the relationship work out, you know?
Yeah, so it's always a continuing thing there because we build ourselves up in life. Our partner really has to come with us, and if not, there has to be a balance put to that situation somehow, some way, and those times can get pretty rough. And I'm so glad to hear that you're doing it so early. It's one of those things that I wasn't until 50 years old. I didn't get that in my mind that, hey, you have to settle down and understand each other. And that's really key. And sometimes, like I said, men can have this hard head and we affect our mate. What do
Mm.
we do to try to avoid that sort of hurtful, even words directed at our mate?
I think this is like an advice that someone else, um, I think it was Julie Foster, had given. Um, she said one of the key things is to know when to keep your zipper um, shut, or like, yeah. And literally, it's kind of like know when to keep your mouth shut, right?
Yeah.
I think that's literally what she said, and like we asked for more like information, and I think what she was trying to say is like know when to be a good listener too. You know, it's not necessarily like just um, keep your mouth shut. It's just like also like be a better listener. You know, yeah,
Yeah, it's a courtesy towards your mate. And
yeah,
when we put that in our mind, it's present. And then that puts what we are doing together in the present instead of what it might have been 25 minutes ago. And if we shut the past off and even shut the future off at times, when we're present in our relationship, it's a really good thing. It brings positivity because really feel that the person feels like, hey, this person is actually, I'm sorry, I got a pop up here. Warnings. Okay. Sorry. So the reason I'm saying this is there's warning signs to everything, and if we present in the moment, we can pick those warning signs up and learn to communicate with them.
I agree with you. So what about like during your marriage? Like, what are some like conflict resolution strategies that you've um, like come up with?
Yeah, that's a good one. The number one thing, I try not to go to bed mad. And if we can resolve it before we go to bed, it's really a good thing because then we're not dragging it into the next day. And if we can wake up understanding, hey, my mate comes first, no
Mhm.
matter if it's my job, my family, my home, my car, whatever. Because if there's not a happiness in between us, a good communication, we have to figure out why we can't communicate. And usually that's because of an inconsiderate thought or opinion or something of the other person. So, number one, try to resolve before you go to bed. And when you wake up in the morning, I always say, I love you, good morning, and give some space early morning wake up.
I I think those are great. You know, I think those are great conflict resolution strategies. Actually, like I feel like you figured your wife out.
Well, we've figured each other out, and we're still doing that. Every Saturday, we set
Mhm.
time aside for personal work.
Mm,
And until we started doing that, we didn't really show a commitment to each other. And
mm.
either one of us somehow would pick up on, hey, do you even care about me? So if
Oh yeah.
we're intentional about being present just for that person, friends, nothing else, just a good workbook that makes you actually initiate thought and talk to each other about hard things, and we're we're always working on ourself first and then our relationship second.
I think that's great. Like I just glanced over at my partner right now too. Like I was like, yeah, like these are some things that like we are working on too, actually. Um and I think that's great. Like it's not just like a like I know that it's not just something that we're working on, you know? So
Yep.
yeah.
That really helps, Anna, understanding you're not alone. Every couple these feelings, and it's really up to you and your partner to figure out how you communicate those out, because everyone
Mm,
communicates differently. And if we allow that external influence to really nudge us, sometimes that's a warning sign, but sometimes that's a gift. And that's where that emotional intelligence really comes in, because when we get hurt, especially by our loved one, we kind of bottle up or we freak out. And I'd rather be able to communicate openly and honestly. And that's where I found the bliss in the relationship to come from. Because if I don't like that you're spilling milk all over the counter and not cleaning it up, well, then you don't care about my thoughts about cleanliness. And if we don't think alike, we can't cohabitate without argument and conflict. So learning to say, heck with the milk, or hey, it's going to get cleaned up. Either you're going to clean it up or I'm going to clean up this mess. How do we handle this? How do you want to move forward? And
Yeah.
always, don't be afraid your opinion about it. It's really how we learn to communicate together without offending each other. That's the
Yeah.
trick. So, in the modern dating scene, how are people hooking up, Anna?
Um, like I feel like I don't really hook up with people anymore. Like that's not really my scene. But I think that from what I've seen, um, it's just there are a lot of people who feel like they go on a lot of dates, but they don't actually date people.
Mm.
Like, does that make sense?
Yes, it does. My response to that is, how long how long should we carry that on with the individual? How long should a dating phase be before you want to find what you're looking for?
Honestly, um, I don't really have a say in that. I don't really know, but I would say like if you don't learn something, then like you'll probably have to experience that until you learn it. Like it's like life is like a learning lesson. It'll teach you, it'll keep on teaching you until you finally learn the lesson, you know?
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, it took 2 years for my wife and I to, and we didn't really even plan it. It just bam happened. Yeah, let's get married. And sometimes that spontaneous reaction, it might not be the wisest, but it sure is fun. And you know, we were advised not to do it, but here
Hmm.
we are, you know 40 years and 42 together, and we're still having fun together.
I
And
think
that's
that's
because
great. Yeah.
you got to remember that you love each other for a reason.
Hmm. That's great. Yeah.
So what are you looking for to what are you trying to establish for people with your podcast?
I feel like I said, a lot of people need like a safe space to kind of like share their past experiences because like sometimes like people don't really have like um, they have some traumatic experiences they want to talk about, and they don't really have a safe space to kind of talk about it. And I feel like my podcast can bring that out in people. They can talk about some things that they haven't shared with any of their friends. And sometimes to move on to another relationship, like another secure relationship, people need to talk about some things, they need to let it out and let it go before they move on to like a real relationship. And I think that that's the reason why like I have this podcast where people can talk about whatever they want to talk about with maybe their past relationship or like some experiences they've had in their past.
So, how do you find guests for your podcast?
Um, well, sometimes like it is from my own personal network, and like they enjoy coming onto my show. Um, so they actually like refer my podcast to some of their friends, and then it just kind of goes on from there.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like they're just sharing their emotions, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah. So, how do you choose your topic to speak with them?
I think the conversation just kind of flows. Like we talk about like childhood traumas and we talk about um what their last dating experience was like, or like red flags in relationships or like things like that. It's sometimes like we do cry and
Yeah.
like things do get emotional and things like that. Yeah.
Well, I find that podcasting can be that therapy that we all need. And whether you're just sitting in the background listening or you're present on the microphone, you kind of get in tune in that what's happening, and then you don't feel alone like you stated earlier in our conversation. That's a huge thing that podcasting has actually taught me, and it has helped my relationship immensely. So it's helped your relationship with your personal relationship.
Um, Actually, yeah, like I feel like it does because like I think about like some of the things that I do talk about and like I do discuss some of the topics that I talk about with my guests, with my partner as well. Because sometimes he does sit in for the conversations and sometimes like he sets up like the camera and things like that and we just talk about some of the topics in general and like it it just helps because we talk things over a lot more.
So that reflection stage is very important when we're, you know, discussing anything in our life, whether it be with our partners or with other people. If we don't really take the time to reflect on what we spoke about, do you really learn anything? Because I real that you have to reflect in order to learn and retain it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do feel like the reflection stage is really important, and I do think that like if we don't reflect on our experiences, there's a chance of us like not being able to learn from our past experiences as well. And in which case, like I have had those experiences where like I didn't reflect on some of my past experiences, and of course, like you repeat the same mistakes for that. You know.
And, by having guests, I like to take that time to reflect on what they've done in order to shift their mentality or their life stage, whatever that might look like to everyone, and if we can learn to harness that power, if you will, and bring that into our everyday thinking to be mindful, it plays a big key role in our overall life.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
So LA, why LA? And the people in LA dating, that to me kind of is a mind-boggling thing because it rough in the world, but in LA, it seems like there's so many people trying to be something they're not. And how do you sift through all of that?
Well, first of all, I do live in LA, and I do agree with you that like there are a lot of like fluffed up people living here, like I've seen for myself. And I feel like that is exactly the reason why, though, that I have set up the podcast here, specifically for LA, maybe for like some other states as well, but for now, LA, because I feel like it's just, it feels like it's a lost cause when it comes to dating, because um, a lot of people just don't know where to start, and where to go. And like when you think of dating in LA, like, and when you just mention that, like people are just like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? What dating scene? Like, you mean like going to a bar? Like, what are you talking about? Like, there is no dating scene here, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, it's confusing because it seems like we're in this dynamic where we're halfway present in our life, but yet the other half is spent online. And I hear there's a lot of online dating, and I myself, I can't understand how that actually works. An
Hmm.
online date, that how do you get connection out of that?
Well, I mean, like, I think that's a great point, like, because the point is you don't, like, first of all, you're online, like, there's already a barrier there. And like, someone could be posting as a female and they could be a male, like, it's like you
Yes.
don't actually know this person. And like, you're talking to them like through chat, like, um, you can't actually hear their voice. Like,
Yeah.
like you're not actually seeing them. So, like, how can you even trust that they're who they actually are? Yeah.
Well, that's refreshing that there are people out there that actually think about that. And I thought I was all alone in the world thinking, wow, online dating, it just doesn't seem right. So there's got to be a bridge somehow from online to the physical meeting, and that is the part that I don't get really. How can you bridge that online to physical world?
So, like, I feel like a lot of times, um, we try to get more networking, and more people to go out into the more like event scene. So there's like a lot more like singles events or like business networking events where people actually see each other in person before like anything really happens. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do instead of like getting into the whole like dating app scene where like we don't know what the heck is going on. you know so
Yeah. So did you notice a shift after COVID or before COVID in how that interaction was happening?
um in what sense?
Well, I've heard several people say we are actually trying to bring back these events where we're physically in contact, and it seems like they're having a problem really doing that, because there has been success with, online events and speakers being paid for being just online. So there's no need for them to travel to get there. And, the expense barrier of that, I'm just wondering, how difficult is it to get people to do that work per se?
Well, I mean, like, I think that's the thing, though. Like, I feel like, there's like holograms and stuff too, right? Like, um,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. One of my friends actually told me there's like holograms being created for celebrities and like all of these things where they don't need to be there, but they're actually there. And um, those kind of things can, you know, like be giving a speech, I don't know if it would be on Zoom, but like if it's like on the podium or something, like, I mean,
Yeah.
but for, yeah,
It seems like there's disconnect there, and I'm wondering if it's going to cause, there's got to be a mental health crisis happening because of this disconnect from. We used to run through, and let's take a casino for an example. Would
mhm.
walk through and hardly get through the place and have to deal with hundreds, if not thousands of people. But now you go to the same place, there's 4 or 5 people off in the corner. So
I
I
also
think
think
it's vital that we bring it back. Sorry.
one thing is that, like, I also think that a lot of people are at home, like, working, and like, how like a lot of things have just gotten like really expensive, right? So like
Yeah.
that could be like another thing, like another reason why like people are just staying at home. Like, it's not necessarily because like they don't want to like be dating or they don't want to like leave the house. It could just be because like they just can't afford to be in a relationship right now, you know it, I don't know, it's just like a hypothetical, you know
No, I think that's a very valid point, because uh, thinking back when I was a young man, if I couldn't provide the standard, if you will, I didn't want to do it, because it made me feel incomplete. And that barrier of finances, it really does control a lot of people's minds and their participation.
yeah.
So, Anna, is there anything that you would like to add besides the things that we've already spoken about today?
um I think you've asked really great questions, and I really enjoyed your being on your podcast. And I really enjoyed
Yeah,
the conflict resolution strategies that you've given. It was great.
yeah. Uh, and anyone listening to this, your partner is your greatest asset. Don't let other people tarnish it, and don't let people tarnish what you have together. Work it out. And it's one of those things that, if you're ashamed or afraid to speak to your partner about it, there's something inside of you that you need to really address. And that goes to the other side of the equation also, because what you found when you found each other was gift. And life tends to tarnish those gifts at times. So keep going at it and keep doing what you're doing, Anna. How can people reach out and work with you?
Well, you can always reach out at It Starts With You, or on my Instagram at Anna Yoo. So, as always, it starts with you.
Yes, and the little smiley face, it's the great thing. Uh, my wife, we built a big poster. This thing covers the wall next to her bed with smiley faces, and it has this inspirational thing that she wrote to remind her every day when your feet hit the floor. It's all about, hey, being happy. You make it happen. Nobody else can. And if I'm in a bad mood, I try to be mindful and I address that right up front. That way, hey, we know where we're treading right up front. And remember, try not to take it to bed. Anna, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I think that's really cute that the smiley face reminds you of your wife. That's great.
Yes. Yeah, that's actually her nickname, Smiley.
Oh,
Yeah, I love it. So thank you, Anna, for being here today.
thank
Thank you for joining us today. If you found this podcast enlightening, entertaining, educational in any way, please share, like, subscribe, and join us right back here next week for another great episode of the Dead America Podcast. I'm Ed Waters, your host. Enjoy your afternoon, wherever you might be.